So John framed these talks Thursday night and Sunday morning around what can monastic life bring to lay people's lives, and what can I offer to you as lay people. And something that we all share is that one day we're going to face sickness and death, and I thought to make reflection on death to be a theme for these talks, because this is what brought me into monastic life. When I was 35 years old, I'd never heard the word Dhamma. I'd never read a book about Buddhism. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any spiritual practice whatsoever. But a friend of mine, who was a couple of years younger than me, he was driving to work one day, and he was pressing. He couldn't feel how hard he was pressing on the accelerator. His foot was a bit numb. 32 years old, and by the end of the day, his whole right leg was numb. So he went to the doctor, and he had an inoperable brain tumor behind his right ear. It was the size of a plum, and it's a very rare type of cancer. It's had a 2% success rate for the chemo, and so his life insurance paid out while he was still alive, and he had the best doctors, the best chemo drugs, all the best treatment, and he was dead in 9 months. And this was a big wake-up call for me, because when I was younger, my grandparents died, and that's the kind of natural order of things, and somehow that seemed normal somehow. It didn't really hit me. When I was 15, my grandmother died. Not the way that someone younger, someone that I'd grown up with, been friends with. And just to one day be at work or driving to work and thinking that you're normal, and then by the end of the day, you've got basic terminal cancer. And this was a big shock for me. But I didn't have any spiritual practice. My parents were Christian, but I rejected that when in my teens, and I had no meditation, no solution or understanding for that. Nothing that could help me cope with that news or him dying. And so what I did have was a bucket list. And I think that this is in the modern kind of secular solution to this problem is you just go, well, I'm going to seize life while I'm still alive. I'm going to do the things I want to do. The number one thing for me was to sail around the world. That has always been my dream. And so I quit my job to sail around the world. And my friend had been talking about this Goenka thing, Vipassana Goenka, 10-day silent retreat. He'd been talking about it for years, and I could never justify taking 10 days off work to go on a retreat. So I signed up and I went to this 10-day retreat. And like I said, I'd never heard the word Dhamma. I barely meditated, a little bit in a yoga class, the end of the yoga class, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I went along. Has anybody here done the Goenka Vipassana? It's pretty intense. It's 10 hours a day of sitting. It's extremely painful. And, but just the way he described the teachings of the Buddha, liberation, the Dhamma, and meditation, felt like my life had a direction that I'd never had. I'd just been working, trying to make money, seeking sensual pleasures, and then suddenly you can't feel your foot, and the doctor tells you're going to die, and you just die. And that didn't make any sense to me, the way I had been living in the context of that you could just any day you could just be told that you're going to die. But suddenly life had a purpose and a direction. And I did do the sailing. I sailed. I ended up crewing on boats and doing deliveries through Indonesia and Malaysia, and ended up in Thailand. And went to the monastery, started going to monasteries and ended up at Wat Pah Nanachat, Ajahn Chah's monastery for Westerners in Thailand. But nothing had really addressed directly, Goenkaji in that 10-day course, he doesn't talk too much about death, but the chanting in the monastery, every morning we'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the bell would go, and you're on your knees chanting, and there's one chant, I am subject to old age, I'm not beyond old age. I'm subject to sickness, I'm not beyond sickness. I'm subject to death, I'm not beyond death. And my karma, what I do, I'll be the heir to those actions. I'm born of those actions. And everything dear to me, I'll be separated from. We do this chant every morning, 3 a.m., getting up every morning and chanting this reflection. And even though my friend died, I still hadn't internalized it. It was a shock. It threw into question everything that I'd been doing in life, but it hadn't really hit home. It's like, yeah, one of these days, it's going to be today. It's going to be today. I'm going to wake up. It's going to be a normal day, and that's going to be the day that I either die or find out that I'm going to die. But the power of chanting it every day, these reflections in the Theravada tradition, it's called Marana Nusati. Marana is death, and Nusati is to contemplate or to reflect on death. And so there's a set of chants if you pick up a Theravada chanting book, there's one in the Ajahn Chah tradition. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one, that you can download the PDF. I'm sure that we can send out a link to the free PDF of this chanting book. And that's my encouragement to everybody, is to try to do some chanting, get this chanting into a daily or a weekly practice for yourself. It's very hard to contemplate death directly, to keep it alive, to sit in meditation and to think about death. It's kind of the mind, it's almost like two magnets, the north pole of two magnets. It doesn't want to go there somehow. We don't want to think about it. But the chanting, it's rhythmic and it's somehow hypnotic. And if you get a good recording, which I'm happy to share with you, there's a monastery in California, Abhayagiri, and they have some very excellent recording. They did a professional, they got 5 or 6 really good chanters in a studio, and they recorded really good chanting, which is free on the internet. I can send you the link. I'll give you a download link, and the PDF is free. And it's the most powerful way that I've found of Marananusati, is contemplating death. And it's a little bit difficult to do on your own if you're not used to it. The Pali, it's the ancient Indian language. I'm hoping that we can do a little bit of chanting on Sunday. If anybody's coming on Sunday, I'll kind of introduce a little bit. And but I was asking John earlier, I'm here for a couple of days. I love this area, Northern Rivers. I spent time in Byron Bay and when I was a younger man, and but I don't know this area too well. And I asked, is there a monastery that we can go and visit? And like up on the Sunshine Coast, they have Chen Rizk, the Tibetan monastery, and there's Dhammagiri west of Brisbane. But apparently there's no monastery down here, which hopefully is something that we can fix later in time, in the next 30 years. It takes a long time to put a monastery together. There's a lot of things that have to come together.
Bodhi Tree Monastery.
There's Bodhi Tree Monastery, but he doesn't do chanting as such necessarily.
Yeah, nothing much happening there.
Yeah, there's nothing much happening there. So, yeah, it's a long-term vision. But because it's so supportive if you have a group coming together. Those of you who've been to a monastery, if you're lucky enough to have been to an Ajahn monastery where there's Pali and English chanting every morning, every evening. I stayed in Amaravati in England, in London, and Chithurst, two wonderful monasteries. If you're ever in England, I thoroughly recommend checking them out. And Thailand, Wat Pah Nanachat, the International Forest Monastery. Has anybody been to any of those three places? Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. So there they do the chanting every morning, every evening, religiously, and it's really, it just forces you to reflect on. There's a power to it that's hard to put in, hard to express unless you do it. It's the doing it. You can read about it. That's one thing. You can read through the chanting. You can even listen to it, but there's nothing quite like being on your knees, slightly being in pain, and suffering, and being forced to do it, and doing it with everybody in a community. There's just this power, the resonance of everyone's voices, and it's really goes in deep, especially when you do it every day over a long period of time. So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know how long. That's been 15 minutes. But yeah, it's more or less what I wanted to share with people. I just thought that in the busy cut and thrust of life, going to work, paying bills, raising children, starting businesses, it may be difficult to kind of put some time aside to think, oh, actually, yeah, I'm mortal, and this is all going to come to an end, and I don't know when that's going to happen. It's that's the what I see. I don't get a lot of stick from people, actually. It seems to only be my stepmother who thinks that I don't do anything for society, but but it that's what I see that I can contribute, and what a monastery is, stepping out of the busy hustle and bustle of the world, and looking at these big themes about death, about suffering, about old age, sickness, and being separated from everyone and everything that we love. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So before the tea, I was going to ask if anybody had questions about the meditation, but now we've had the talk, so if anyone has questions about anything. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much about meditation, but I'm very curious about your decision to become a monk. You talked,
Right.
about how you became interested in Buddhism, but then that journey, I guess, of then deciding, okay, leave behind worldly things and the life that you're used to. Was that a very, very slow thing, or was there a moment when it just all crystallized and the path was clear for you? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Right. That's the topic of Sunday's talk.
Is it?
But that's okay. I can practice it. People, the most common question I get is, why did you ordain? Why did you become a monk? But especially from Thais, but also from Western people. And for me, it was more of a how than a why. I didn't go to Thailand with the intention to, actually, I went to Thailand with the intention to do professional yacht racing, semi-professional yacht racing, and not with the intention of becoming a Buddhist monk. So to cut a long story short, an Ajahn said to me when I was a junior monk, when I was a novice, said that some people get very inspired. They do some retreats, they read Dhamma books, listen to talks on YouTube, and they get very super inspired about monastic life, and they sell their car and leave their girlfriend and close the lease and say goodbye to their parents, and they fly one-way ticket to Thailand, and it's not what they expect. When they get in there, it's they can't take it for whatever reason. They get homesick, or they don't agree with, they don't, or doesn't mash up to their expectations. They have too high expectations. They think everyone's going to be arahants when they get there, and they realize they're just normal people, and or whatever it is. And they 6 months and they're gone. And other people just wash up at Nanachat by accident, and they just adapt to it, and they take to the life, and it suits them. And then when they think to leave, something happens. The door closes as they're about to leave the monastery. And this happened again and again. I kind of wanted to go to India. I still wanted to go and live a yoga ashram, and I injured my leg and I couldn't walk. And then I was going to go home and help my parents build a house, and my mother got sick, and they didn't sell the house, and they retired, but they stayed in the house they were in. They were going to build a new house, and I was going to go and help them build the new house. And then my mother got peritonitis, and her appendix burst, and they didn't sell the house. There was just this string of things that happened, and this is what the Ajahn said, is that some people, because of their karma from the past, every time they think about leaving the monastery, something blocks them. And other people have the full intention, but every time they try to go to the monastery, something blocks them in the world. They inherit a lot of money. I know monks who've decided that men who've decided they want to ordain, and then they inherit $1 million or something like that, and then their life just goes off in a different direction. So it just is somehow a karmic thing. You have to put yourself in the situation, and where it can happen, but it's very much who, and then even when you're in robes, things happen. Then people get in robes and they inherit a lot of money and they disrobe. They go because they can suddenly buy a nice house at the beach, and they go, and it's just, yeah, there's so many karmic factors playing into it, that but can I go for another?
Sure, yeah.
But there was there were a series of real insights that I had, where I heard I damaged the nerve in my knee, or below my knee, and it was the nerve. Damaging the nerve wasn't painful, but trying to walk on it was. I started, kind of trying to participate in monastic life. I started getting this intense knee pain, and I was waking up. We sleep on the hard wooden floor on straw mat, and just waking up on the hard wooden floor every day at 3 a.m. and hobbling to the sala to do the morning chanting was killing my knee, and I'd just wake up in agony every morning with this knee pain, and that was bad enough. And then, of course, I was sitting on a chair. I wasn't kneeling on my bad knee, but sitting through this pain and chanting, "I am subject to old age. I'm subject to sickness. I'm subject to death." Kind of, still, it's not going in quite so deep. And then one morning, I woke up and it was the other knee. The other knee was painful, and this is what happens when you have one knee's bad, then you compensate with the other one. And I woke up in the other one, the exact same pain was in the other knee. And, and I realized, oh, one of these days it's going to be both knees, and it's not going to get better. When you're 80 or something and you need knee replacements, it's not going to get better, and it's going to get to that point. And it's just a combination of the chanting, and also we do open air cremations at Nanachat, and we go to autopsies as part of our training. So you're kind of seeing death. You're doing people's funerals, and just these personal insights dealing with pain, in you know, the monastic form somehow is a painful experience. It's the first few years, and physically painful. And yeah, just little insights like, oh yeah, it's going to be both knees. It hammered the delusion of youth out of me, and it, you know, when you're 35, you act like a 25-year-old, don't you? You think that you're invincible still, but you're not. The body teaches you by 40, 45, it teaches you somehow that you're not. And to experience that, I was lucky enough to experience that in the monastery, getting up every day chanting, I'm subject to old age, sickness, and death. And that's the short answer to your question. Okay. So
we might finish up, and thank you, Ajahn, for sharing with us some teachings and the meditation. And we look forward to having whoever can come back for Sunday, Easter Sunday, so a special occasion to do some meditation and be spiritual, and sitting and walking meditation on the Sunday, and experiencing some chanting as well. So thanks for coming out tonight, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ajahn.
you're welcome.